ERM entry as being truly worthy of the adjective momentous. And since that is self-evidently true, it's all the more difficult for us and for the British people to understand the refusal of the head of the government that made that decision to participate in this debate. It appears, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister has chosen this significant occasion of all occasions to become untypically reticent to embrace a previously undisclosed shyness, to become, how shall I put it, a sort of crypto-Trappist. The government's decision and the government's timing are accurately seen as being determined by political expediency and concern for their own skins, and not by economic judgment made for the sake of the economy or the national welfare. Mr. Speaker, this is a government that's been found out. And as soon as the British people get the chance, it will be a government that'll be put out.
Former Chancellor Nigel Lawson, in only his second speech since his resignation, welcomed the decision to join the ERM, but regretted that it had taken so long.
The real tragedy is that we did not join the exchange rate mechanism of the EMS at least 5 years ago. And this was not for want of trying, as a number of my then cabinet colleagues can testify. And at that time, in answer to the honourable member who intervened earlier, the monetary aggregates were moving in the right direction, inflation was coming down, and indeed our rate of inflation was very close to the community average. And if we had joined then, we should not have seen the sharp fall in the sterling, which occurred in 1986, and which then led to the inflation, rise in inflation we've subsequently seen.
Not all Labour members welcomed the decision. Peter Shaw was a prominent sceptic.
I want to hear a categorical assertion from both front benches when they wind up tonight that we will not accept permanently locked exchange rates. That's the heart of the matter. Joining the EMU under those conditions would be the worst decision that we have ever made, dwarfing even the readmission of Britain's pound sterling to the gold standard in 1925. Apart from being economically disastrous, the effect of joining, of course, the EMU will be to transfer effective powers of self-government from this Parliament to the European authorities, and to put our future prosperity in the hands of a committee of central bankers dominated by the Bundesbank.
11 Tories, led by John Biffen, also condemned the Chancellor's decision.
As this debate proceeds, not just tonight, but in the weeks and months and years ahead, the devotees of the planned economy, the devotees of the income policy, will be reinforced by the fixed exchange rate. And ultimately, the old arguments will resurface, and I will look back and be proud to have argued and voted as I intend to tonight.
And with me is Brian Sedgemoor, prominent Labour backbencher on these matters and a member of the Treasury Select Committee. Now, John Biffen's point, that this is leading inevitably, joining the ERM is leading inevitably to EMU, European Monetary Union. You go along with that?
I think John's right on that. We've actually now decided to join in economic and political integration. And over the next decade, we'll see the outline of a federal European system. The old Anglo-Saxon system is breaking down, and we're going to move to the system of Charlemagne and Napoleon.
Yes, but where does John Smith, the Shadow Chancellor, stand in this? He appears to be stranded in no man's land, as John Major is. We're all in favour of ERM, but we're not quite sure if we want to go that far.
Well, I think if you heard, there was one critical paragraph in Neil Kinnock's speech, and what Neil Kinnock was saying was that when the great statesmen of Europe sign on for EMU and decide that we're going to have a single European currency, he, as the Prime Minister of Britain, is not prepared to stand in isolation on the sidelines. He will, in fact, sign on too. Now, he said that at the moment we're too weak to go in, but he reckons that within 5 years of a Labour government, there will be some convergence between our economy and that of Germany, and we'll be fit to go in. Well, as nobody's talking about EMU until 1995-96, we'll be there ready, bang on cue.
Some people might say, I know what you're up to, Brian Sedgemoor. You really, as a socialist, want a good, big, fat dose of centralised euro planning with a big, powerful centralised bank. planning the economy exactly the way the old-fashioned socialists would.
I think that's a little unkind. I think
Just a little bit, Hutton.
Just a little. I mean, I think one of the advantages is that Labour can fight off the speculators. It can avoid a statutory prices and incomes policy. But yes, we do like the idea of a social charter. We can, in fact, marry socialism in Britain, not only with socialism in Europe, but also with conservative Christian democracy, which is a different animal from Thatcherism in Britain. And yes, EMU and the development of a single currency